nation will not be stopped by anything other than government becoming too big and too intrusive and too fat in our lives. We're going to scale back government and increase the freedom of the American people so that we can once again be the most powerful economy in the world, good for the middle class, creating the jobs that Americans need with rising standards of living, and we can remain, as we have always been, the hope of the earth. Thanks, you guys.
Businesses are comprised of people. I'm talking about repair shops, and gas stations, and beauty salons, and restaurants. I'm talking about Apple Computer, and Facebook, and Microsoft. I'm talking about businesses that employ people. It's really astonishing to me that the Obama folks would try and argue that businesses aren't people. What do they think they are? Little men from Mars? That when they tax business, they tax people. I want this to be the most attractive place in the world for small business, new business, growing businesses. And what the president's done is put in place the most anti-business, anti-investment, anti-jobs agenda we've seen in general.
To hear that there might be a second stimulus bill that's going to be passed.
Obviously, it hasn't worked.
It would be a total waste of money.
And as a business owner, I can't go out and spend more than I make.
It will get to the point where you can't recover.
At this point, it's just my wife and I left here in the business, but at one point we had about 35 employees. So it's really an example of how the economy has turned in that we have a lot of empty space. This is a 4,500 square foot building, and we're using about 1,000 square feet.
Well, you can learn some lessons from Ronald Reagan and what he did after the recession when he came into office, and he made sure that government was not burdening the enterprise system. He kept taxes low, held down regulation, expanded trade around the world, and in the month of September following the recession he inherited, we actually created over 1 million jobs. So what you're seeing now is the result of a failed economic policy by a president who's been in office 3 years and is looking for someone to blame.
As president on day one, I will focus on rebuilding America's economy. It's a foundation of our strength. The 21st century can and must be an American century. It is our duty to steer it onto the path of freedom, peace, and prosperity. Let future generations look back on us and say, they rose to the occasion and they led our nation to safety and to greatness. Believe in America. Thank you so much. God bless this great land. Now, I got asked as I was walking in here, they said, how are you going to beat Barack Obama? I know how I'm going to beat him, and that's for this reason. He has failed when it's come to creating jobs for the American people. He has failed in the economy. But we need somebody who understands how to create jobs, and for that to happen, we need a guy who's had a job to create jobs.
We need new businesses in South Carolina. We need to get people working again.
The Obama administration denied the right of South Carolina to compete for a plant for Boeing, which would have brought 3,800 jobs, is simply inexplicable. He told us he'd keep unemployment below 8% if we gave him a stimulus. Congress did. It hasn't been under 8% since. And this state is suffering more than the average.
The decisions that the president is making on energy, and he's been making since the beginning of his administration, has made it very clear that America is not interested in developing our own energy resources. And that, of course, has led to a position where we're highly vulnerable to the imports that come into the country, highly vulnerable to the cartels, and when there are disruptions, as there are now in the Middle East, prices go through the roof. I know President Obama doesn't have to take all the blame for everything that's gone on in Detroit and other cities in America. But he sure didn't make things better. He made things worse. And instead of focusing all of his energy and passion on getting people back to work and fixing the economy, he focused on cap and trade and card check unionization and paid scant attention to the fact that you've got millions of Americans out of work